The Young and the Restless spoilers shocker. Sharon Newman has always been at the center of emotional storms in Genoa City, a woman whose heart has been tested time and again by betrayal, loss, and the constant tug between loyalty and self-preservation. From the moment she first fell for Nick Newman during their teenage years, Sharon's life became an intricate tapestry of passion, heartbreak, and redemption. Over the decades, viewers have witnessed Sharon's evolution from a naive young woman swept away by the intensity of first love into a resilient survivor who has endured betrayals that would have crushed many. Yet, despite her resilience, recent storylines suggest that Sharon is trapped in a cycle of longing that is no longer gratifying. Her unrequited crush on Nick Newman has become a perpetual ache, and the creative forces behind The Young and the Restless themselves seem to sense that the Sharon-Nick dynamic has grown stale. Despite Nick's occasional displays of affection and fleeting moments of nostalgia for what they once had, Sharon remains mired in an emotional purgatory. Watching from the sidelines as Nick's life continues to entangle with that of Phyllis Summers, whose recklessness and cunning have both haunted and fascinated Sharon in equal measure. With every shared glance between Nick and Phyllis, Sharon's enchantment fractures a little more, leaving her to ponder whether clinging to a romance that has long since lost its spark is worth the endless turmoil. His friend-zone treatment of Sharon has hurt her more profoundly than any petty rivalry or candid exposure of secrets. For months, Sharon has been forced to plaster a facade of contentment onto her face as she plays along with this new, supposedly mature friendship that Nick offers, yet behind every brave smile, her heart bleeds for something deeper. The truth is that Sharon's unrelenting devotion to Nick has already proven self-destructive. When Nick rejected her romantic advances and relegated her to friend status, she experienced the shame of admitting to herself and to the world that her deeply cherished hopes might never be reciprocated. She has spent countless nights replaying every moment they ever shared. His laughter, the warmth of his hand in hers, and the shared confidences of youthful dreams nourished by the illusion of forever. But as the years have passed, those memories have ossified. What was once a source of comfort has mutated into a taunting reminder of what Sharon could not sustain. Meanwhile, Nick's budding closeness with Phyllis, who has been equally reckless and misguided in her own way, continues to stir Sharon's left-behind embers of jealousy. Sharon cannot deny the twinge of anger that flares whenever she learns of their clandestine encounters or hears the faint promise of laughter in the air when they reunite. It is a cruel irony that a woman who once risked everything for Nick now feels diminished in his peripheral awareness. Recent updates and insider whispers have suggested that Sharon's universe might be on the cusp of change, a fleeting, unexpected encounter that could shatter the mold of her unfulfilling fixation on Nick and chart a new course for her future. There are murmurs of a man whose very presence would ignite in Sharon a longing she has not felt in years, a fresh spark of romance that does not hinge on old wounds or familiar regrets. Could such a person plausibly appear in Genoa City, a city whose residents seem to orbit the same gravitational forces of desire and deceit? Yet, soap operas have always thrived on contrivances that test the boundaries of plausibility. The suggestion is that Sharon may cross paths with someone, perhaps at a local charity event thrown in honor of those who survived the recent warehouse collapse. Or maybe during a chance rescue of a stray animal on the Newman Ranch, where the immediate chemistry between her and a complete stranger is so intense that it demands acknowledgement. Suppose this man steps in precisely at the moment Sharon's resilience is at its lowest ebb, when she has just witnessed yet another flirtatious encounter between Nick and Phyllis. In that moment, Sharon's heart may seize at the sight of someone whose glance is warm but not pitying, whose approach is respectful yet filled with undeniable admiration. It is that split second of mutual recognition, that almost kinetic potential, that could catapult Sharon into a completely new chapter, one where she is not defined by lingering hopes for Nick but by the incandescent possibility of something wholly her own. To consider this scenario is to acknowledge that Sharon has earned, perhaps even desperately needs, a storyline unanchored from her old romantic entanglements. In many ways, Sharon has been treated as a narrative repository for other people's dramas, first as the forlorn bride striving to salvage her marriage, then as the betrayed wife battling to maintain her dignity, and later as the mother who put her daughter's safety above her own. She has assumed manifold roles: daughter, spouse, mother, friend, confidant, emotional punching bag, yet she has had little opportunity to explore an identity divorced from the shadow of Nick Newman or to access the transformative power of affection that is unconditional and sustaining. What if that new man arriving in her life is neither a scoundrel nor a sap but someone as multifaceted as Sharon herself? Imagine a persona whose career involves counseling trauma survivors. A vocation that would resonate with Sharon's own history of emotional wounds and her ongoing quest for healing. He could be someone who recognizes in Sharon the latent strength that she often underplays. A person who does not see her as a perpetual victim of chance but as a woman whose scars are testaments to her unbreakable spirit. Their shared understanding of suffering could foster an intimacy that grows organically rather than being forced by writers' whims. In this way, rather than merely offering lip service to the trope of Sharon moving on, the narrative would acknowledge her complexity and craft a slow-burning romance rooted in mutual respect and genuine connection. Of course, the logistics of orchestrating such a meeting in Genoa City cannot be overlooked. The city, with its familiar landmarks, the Newman Ranch, the Abbott Mansion, Crimson Lights, has been Sharon's stage for most of her life, so introducing a new character requires careful calibration to avoid jarring dissonance. Producers might opt to insert this man as a long-lost friend of Phyllis or perhaps as a decorated military veteran recovering from service-related trauma. Someone whom Leslie or Kelly have befriended through support groups. Alternatively, he could be connected to a new philanthropic initiative launched by Sally Spectra aimed at providing mental health resources to residents. In any case, writers would need to depict Sharon's initial encounter with him as serendipitous rather than contrived. Perhaps she mistakenly drops her phone near a construction site and he retrieves it, offering her a tentative yet comforting presence amidst the clamor of jackhammers and dust. That tiny moment of vulnerability, Sharon's gratitude mingling with an almost imperceptible spark of interest, could serve as the predestined juncture where their worlds collide. From there, subsequent scenes would show them engaged in conversations layered with subtext, where Sharon slowly allows herself to reveal her insecurities, and he responds not with judgment, but with authentic empathy. These shared dialogues would stand in stark relief to the stilted interactions she has had with Nick, emphasizing that closeness need not come at the cost of personal stability. As Sharon embarks on this uncharted territory, her past will inevitably cast long shadows. She bears the guilt of her mistakes, like the time she tampered with evidence to protect Nick, or the season when she allowed her feelings for Adam to blur the moral boundaries she once held dear. But where Nick Newman's love often came in fits and starts, punctuated by betrayals and misunderstandings, this new figure's tenderness would not erase Sharon's regrets, rather, it would help her transcend them. The storyline could depict Sharon grappling with her skepticism. Can she trust someone enough to risk the heartbreak that might follow? For years, fans have watched as Sharon hesitated when it came to protecting herself, always willing to sacrifice her own well-being for the sake of those she loves. Now, if her burgeoning relationship with this stranger is to thrive, she must learn to set boundaries, to accept kindness without suspicion, and to recognize that love need not be synonymous with pain. The arc would allow the viewers to witness Sharon's growth as she attends therapy sessions, perhaps alongside this new man, where she confronts her patterns of self-sacrifice and begins to redefine her understanding of a healthy partnership. Sharon Newman has always been a beacon of magnetism in Genoa City. Her warmth, her vulnerability, and her indomitable spirit draw people toward her, even amid the most tumultuous circumstances. Ever since her early teenage romance with Nick Newman, Sharon's life has been punctuated by impassioned entanglements, betrayals, and courageous comebacks. Now, as whispers circulate about the arrival of a man named Flynn Dumas, whose origins remain shrouded in mystery, whether as a reimagined incarnation of Kane Ashby or an entirely new, formidable figure. Fans and insiders alike speculate whether Sharon's path will cross with his in a way that ignites not only headlines but the very core of her heart. It is an intriguing question. Could this enigmatic Dumas become the next flame to flicker in Sharon's romantic life, even if only for a single night that crackles with unanticipated excitement? Drawing upon Sharon's past impulsive dalliances and her willingness to embrace new men as sources of both solace and adventure, it seems entirely plausible that a late-night encounter with Flynn Dumas could break Sharon free from the stagnation she has felt in recent storylines. Her chemistry with younger suitors, such as Chance Chancellor, demonstrates that age is no barrier when it comes to the raw electricity Sharon can inspire. Therefore, as Flynn steps onto the canvas of Genoa City, the possibility of a passionate one-night affair seems tantalizingly within reach, offering Sharon the chance to reclaim a sense of spontaneity that has long eluded her. Imagine, then, a dimly lit after-hours charity gala at the Chancellor Estate, where Sharon volunteers to oversee silent auction items for victims of last month's warehouse collapse. The elegant chandeliers cast a warm glow over the mahogany tables, and soft strains of a jazz quartet fill the air. Guests mingle in tailored tuxedos and sleek cocktail dresses, unaware that an undercurrent of anticipation simmers just beneath the surface. Sharon, dressed in a figure-flattering emerald silk gown, a nod to her resilient spirit, moves from table to table, offering genuine gratitude as she arranges donation packages. It is in this moment, as she steps away from the crowd to adjust the bid sheet by the windowsill, that Flynn Dumas appears, a stranger in a crisp charcoal suit and an inquiring gaze that suggests both intelligence and guarded sorrow. Their initial exchange is brief. Flynn asks Sharon to clarify the starting bid on a Lord & Taylor brooch, and their eyes lock with an intensity that makes the world around them blur. There is a flash of recognition, for Sharon, an immediate sense that his presence veers perilously close to a temptation she cannot explain. For Flynn, a few stolen seconds of observation convinces him that Sharon's poise masks a soul wounded by disappointment, yet nevertheless radiating an unquenchable spark. In that brief moment, neither can predict how swiftly their fates will intertwine. Later that evening, after the gala has ended and most guests have departed, Sharon lingers by the grand staircase, deliberating whether to retrieve her purse from the hostess table. She senses an unfamiliar presence beside her, and before she can turn, she feels a gentle tap on her shoulder. It is Flynn, extending a hand with a polite yet conspiratorial smile. Without preamble, he offers to walk her to her car. Sharon hesitates, her instincts warn her that she should go home, relish a warm bath, and collapse into bed, where loneliness has become an unwelcome but constant companion. Yet something about Flynn's presence disarms her. He speaks with a velvety calm, complimenting her on the seamless way she hosted the event, and expressing admiration for her unselfish devotion to the community. Sharon responds with guarded warmth, aware that past entanglements have taught her to defend her heart. Nonetheless, Flynn's gaze remains unwavering, as though he insists on seeing all the pieces she tries so hard to conceal. As they descend the steps and step into the brisk night air, Sharon becomes acutely aware of the possibility that, for once, a chance meeting might not lead to ruins but could instead offer a fleeting escape from the ache she has carried for far too long. Within moments, their small talk dissolves into a companionable silence broken only by the crunch of gravel beneath their shoes. Sharon finds herself sharing details about her fledgling jewelry line, something she rarely discusses except with those she trusts implicitly, while Flynn discloses, in vague but haunting terms, that he has just returned to Genoa City after a period abroad, coping with losses that refuse to be named. There is an unspoken understanding between them, both have been wounded by love. Both yearn for connection, yet neither wants to expose vulnerability too quickly. By the time they reach Sharon's sleek black sedan, the air between them hums with unresolved tension. Entire lifetimes of possibility flicker in each glance, and Sharon knows that if she steps behind the steering wheel and retreats to her safe but lonesome bedroom, she may never again encounter the stirring that has awakened inside her tonight. Conversely, if she takes the risk to lean in, to close the scant distance between them, everything could change in a single heartbeat. Before Sharon can second-guess herself, Flynn lightly brushes a strand of hair from her face and asks, in gentle, hushed tones, "What do you want?" "Sharon Newman?" The question is at once startling and liberating. She realizes that, for the first time in ages, she does not know the answer, but she does know that the unknown has never felt more desirable. In the space of that charged moment, Sharon allows herself to lean forward, and their lips meet in a kiss that is equal parts restraint and desperation. It is not the languid, courtship-style passion viewers have grown accustomed to witnessing between Sharon and Nick. It is raw, urgent, and born of two people who have spent too long barricading their hearts. They step into the back seat of her car, the city's streetlights filtering through the rear window like abstract paintings. The world outside fades as they surrender to a single night of unbridled desire, no promises exchanged, no long declarations of love, only the visceral knowledge that their bodies and souls have collided with an unlikely but irresistible force. In that fleeting encounter, Sharon rediscovers a part of herself she had feared lost, the fearless woman who could choose ecstasy over stagnation, who could seize the present even if the future remained uncertain. For Flynn, too, it is an evening that pierces through the fog of his own wounds, a reminder of what it means to be seen and desired by someone as stunning and complex as Sharon. The next morning, as dawn seeps through the curtains of Sharon's bedroom, she wakes beside a bare mattress, her phone on the nightstand glowing with unread messages. There is no text from Flynn, only a final voicemail, recorded in the pre-dawn hours, in which he thanks her for a brief reprieve from loneliness and says he must leave on an urgent flight. He mentions only that he hopes, if fate allows, their paths may cross again, but that in the meantime, he does not want to hold on to anything that might prevent Sharon from finding the happiness she deserves. Sharon's breath catches. For a split second, part of her wants to angrily demand he stay, to insist that she needs him now that she has tasted his tenderness. Yet another part remembers the countless times she has clung to relationships because of fear of abandonment, fear of being unloved, and the gravity of that fear has always weighed her down. As she sits up, wrapping herself in the silk sheets, Sharon recognizes that in giving herself to one night of passion, she has not betrayed Nick, nor has she sabotaged some grand plan, rather, she has reclaimed her right to choose pleasure on her own terms. The faint scent of Flynn's cologne lingers in the air, an ephemeral echo of their union, and Sharon closes her eyes, committing to memory that fleeting taste of freedom and the warmth of a stranger's embrace. In that instant, she feels something swell within her, pride, perhaps, or relief, or the first flicker of self-compassion in years. Regardless of what the day ahead holds, Sharon knows she is no longer a prisoner of yesterday's regrets.